Hello and welcome to Investment and Development Nigeria. This is the program that showcases investment opportunities, development strides, and also covered various sectors of Nigeria's economy. Today, our focus is on the National Conference on Livestock Reforms and the Mitigation of Associated Conflicts. And why is this necessary? Over the years, there's been skirmishes between farmers and herders, but lately it has taken a new dimension. There's been a conflagration of conflicts all over the country between herders and farmers. So that's why this conference is of great significance to that sector of Nigeria's economy. And it was powered by the government of Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, the Kano State government. So we bring you reports and excerpts from that conference. My name is Mayowa Oluwabi. Don't go away. Stay with us.
In the last 10 years, clashes between farmers and herders increased in Nigeria, resulting in wanton loss of lives and property. To mitigate this, the federal government in 2019 proposed the setting up of rural grazing areas, RUGA, or cattle colonies, which were to create a safe haven for itinerant herdsmen and reduce the incidence of constant clashes between them and peasant farmers. The proposal was vehemently resisted in most parts of the country, especially the southern and middle belt states, as it was seen as a ruse by President Muhammadu Buhari to cede land to his Fulani kinsmen. The federal government was forced to shelve the RUGA idea, at least for the time being. In his presentation, the Vice President Country Programs at the Islamic Development Bank and Chairman of the conference, Dr. Mansour Mukhtar, commended the Kano State government for organizing the long overdue national interaction that would help bring understanding to a contentious issue.
The agenda they have articulated for today's conversations charges us to reflect profoundly on how to improve productivity in Nigeria's livestock sector. We are also being tasked with thinking through ways to mitigate conflict and promote harmonious living in the affected regions, keeping in mind that socioeconomic development is incredibly difficult to achieve without long-lasting peace and security. Indeed, without long-lasting peace and security, our very existence as a nation becomes threatened. This conference is very crucial in reshaping dialogue on the subject. National discourse on the subject, on this issue in the last several years has been characterized by a divisive ethno-religious narrative, which has done very little to resolve it. Instead, it has fueled the issue, it has excessively politicized the issue, clouding it with sentiments that have prevented meaningful and constructive dialogue. Oftentimes, dancing to the gallery, finding embers of hatred among each other. This will not take us anywhere. The harmful rhetoric emanating therefrom has been amplified by deliberate peddling of fake news, as well as coordinated misinformation and disinformation campaigns. I hope that today's conference provides a model of a more constructive approach to this subject, and that our conversations will take us a step closer to helping our people, farmers and herders alike, as well as other citizens, lead safer, more productive, and prosperous lives.
The governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, who had said the idea was good, decided to put his money where his mouth was. He launched the Kano State Rural Grazing Area in collaboration with the Islamic Development Bank, the Life and Livelihoods Fund, LLF, and other organizations in June 2020. This move reduced clashes between farmers and herdsmen in the state. It was on this basis that the Kano State government decided to organize a national conference on livestock reforms and mitigation of associated conflicts. Governor Ganduje speaks on why the conference became necessary at this point in our national development.
There's a conflict even among the herdsmen themselves, because there's a conflict between socio-economic development and tradition and culture. And also there's a problem between herdsmen and farmers. Also there's a problem between herdsmen who have been perceived as religious, Islamic religious militia. And also there's a problem with economy, especially in those areas where they have been there for a long time, for many decades. Some of them, most of them are born there, even their parents are born there. But before it was a symbiotic relationship between the herdsmen and the farmers. But now with the advent of modern fertilizer, the farmers tend to have an alternative, while the herdsmen do not have an alternative, because the grazing that they are used to, it has reduced because of land has been occupied by other developmental issues of the government. So you can see that we have pockets of problems all over regarding to herdsmanship, especially when you see the climate change, where many herdsmen from West Africa are flooding into Nigeria, to central belt, and then down to the southern part of this Nigeria, creating a lot of problems. Even some of them are carrying arms. So you can see that it seems that Nigerian government has not come up with a solid solution on how to solve this problem. So that is why the Kano State government decided to organize this conference, so that all stakeholders are here, ranging from the herdsmen themselves to the farmers themselves, and then to professionals, different aspects, those in the field of livestock production, and even those from social aspect of it, anthropologists, psychologists, sociologists, they are all here, economists, they are all here in order to find out a solution to this problem.
The keynote speaker, Professor Eustace Yayi, who is the Registrar CEO, Nigerian Institute of Animal Science, traced the importance of animal protein to life sustenance and the economic growth of a nation. According to him, conflict between farmers and herdsmen goes against the grain of sustainable production, as they need each other to thrive. He submits that farmers and herders should have a symbiotic relationship.
Depending on the type of environmental and soil type of the particular farm plot, different tree crops combination is used to get the optimal returns from the land. Because in the final analysis, we are actually more interested in what happens on the land. And I always say that both the farmers, the crop farmers, and the livestock producers, they are supposed to be partners in progress. The two of them depend on the land resource, and as a matter of fact, the animal producers needs what the plant producers produces, and vice versa. The crop producers needs the manure from the animals. So, really, they should be the best of friends and working together in a symbiotic manner. Now, we also know that the constraint for feeding and feeding materials is an area that needs very serious attention. Animal feed and nutrition are essential in livestock production chain for sustainable livestock production. Surging demands and struggling supplies result in stressed surroundings in which livestock feed operators and farmers need to balance their activities continuously, taking into account livestock performance as well as customer, consumer, and societal demands. As livestock feed contributes up to 80% of the total cost in meat and milk production, and profits in the chain are usually under pressure, improving feed and feeding programs are important components of sustainable production systems in order to optimize productivity and efficiency.
The two-day conference took place at the NAF Conference Center and Suites, Abuja, with the theme, Sustainable Livestock Reforms and Mitigating Associated Conflicts in Nigeria. It was attended by stakeholders from the entire agricultural value chain, economists, sociologists, anthropologists, traditional rulers, academics, herdsmen associations, farmers associations, political office holders, and media practitioners. The Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Alhaji Saad Abubakar III, also graced the occasion. He called for peace and dialogue, saying the conflict between farmers and herders is an economic issue.
Of recent, the last 1 decade also, is purely an economic issue, not tribal, not religious. But people have turned it into a political jamboree. And whatever issue of development you bring politics into is doomed to fail. We have seen the problem of insecurity. It's been politicized. Where we're heading to, things are getting worse. Lack of development, insecurity. This issue of farmers-herders clashes has been taken up 2008, when I became Sultan 2006. We put a committee of chief and Fulani leaders in this country. The late Emir of Gombe, Allah Gava, led to a chief, were the chair and vice chair of that conference, had a very big book. The outcome of that conference, of that meeting, for 1.5 years they were meeting, there was no single clash in the Benue Valley between farmers and herders. Why? Because the leaders were discussing on the best way out. That's what we believe should be enacted.
Former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Tahiru Jega, was the chairman of the organizing committee for the conference. He believes the conference would create opportunities for the livestock sector to contribute more to national development.
I believe that this is a conference in which a range of stakeholders were brought together under one roof to deliberate on the challenges of reforming the livestock sector, and in particular finding lasting sustainable solutions to the crisis or the conflicts between farmers and the herders. And I believe that the kind of resource persons and the experts we gathered together for this conference are going to produce substantive recommendations which will certainly help our country address these problems and ensure that the livestock sector contributes remarkably to Nigeria's economic progress and development.
We'll go on a short break and then we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still on the National Conference of Livestock Reforms and the Mitigation of Associated Conflicts.
The Secretary General of the Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association, Baba Othman Gelzama, and Professor Abba Gambo, who heads the Agric Desk at the Nigerian Governors Forum, were also at the epoch-making event.
I would like to draw the attention of the committee to the fact that there has to be a settlement model. This is going to be a solution to most of the problems. But first of all, we have to address the security issues that is attached to this problem, because in 2014 we were just addressing farmer-herder conflict when the phenomenon of cattle rustling came in. But thereafter, up to now today, we are now experiencing banditry, kidnapping, and cattle rustling, which made the pastoralists in the center of everything, because they are seen as culprits while we see them as typical victims of this crisis. To this fact, I would like to draw the attention of the committee to come up to evolve a model of settlement that will solve this issue, considering the peculiarities of the pastoralists we have in the country, who have no education, no training, no skills. They practice pastoralism as a way of life, and a source of livelihood. Majority of them are smallholder farmers who cannot afford capital-intensive ranching, and to them, the cow is a class status. The more cows you have, the more important you become in the society we live. So these are things that has to be considered when coming up, when evolving a model that can suit these peculiarities. Because until when you do this, before they will embrace it and accept it. Thank you very much.
The crisis we're all talking about, conflicts, talking about climatic change, the farmers' hardest crisis, we have to go back to the basics. Let the traditional rulers handle it the way they handled it several years ago. They know the farmers, they know the herdsmen, they know the grazing reserves, they know the brutally, all the routes, they all know them. So let the traditional rulers be given a more robust and active role in the affairs of this country, and definitely things will change for the better.
A farmer, Asmau Begum Risan, who shared our experience of cattle invasion of our farm, believes conflicts between farmers and herders are easy to resolve if there is sincerity on all sides.
Some of these things are very simple. We can solve them. The herder, or would I say the pastoralist, is just like any other pastoralist in any other country. And they have been able to contain the situation. So if we are sincere, we can solve this problem. It's a very sad thing that the minute we say pastoralist, every Nigerian's mind goes to a particular segment of the citizenry. Then we criminalize it. So there has to be a deliberate attempt at doing things, and they should follow the word pastoralist with another one like saying and other stakeholders in the document. When you do that, you cover every aspect. The farmer becomes a part of it because he's producing the crop, the grain, and the fodder that the animal is going to take. The meat processor gets in there, the dairy producer gets in there, not just the person herding the animal. So they all feel included, and then they will support the policy.
The Director General of the Ahmadu Bello Foundation, Kaduna, Engineer Abubakar Umar, was impressed with the caliber of participants and believes this will hasten the implementation of the conference recommendations.
This one to me is a little bit different and special in the sense that all the stakeholders have been brought together. You can see farming groups, farming organizations, you can see government in this, you can see academicians, you know, and researchers in it, and you can see Fulani groups, like I've seen Meeti Allah Kautal Hore, Meeti Allah, several other groups, you know, practicing farmers. All these people have come in and they are giving their, you know, their own input into the whole issue. That is why I feel more confident that unlike the previous ones that are lopsided, one-sided, where you just see academicians coming to talk to themselves. But in this case, even from the submission of the Fulani group, you can see that they have identified, you know, areas where they think, you know, this cattle colony or ranching or ruga will be done. And that means that they have accepted to settle down, which is good for us. I think this one is different. And the fact that it is, you know, bringing in government itself, I feel whatever recommendations that come in, government will implement.
Despite the conference being about livestock reforms and conflict resolution, Professor Stella Olushola Odebode, Dean Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Ibadan, wants gender inclusiveness and clear appreciation of the role women play in livestock production.
We have to be sensitive about the fact that the roles of gender in terms of the adult male, adult female, girls and boys, the role is very important, because without them, we cannot have the development process. And the fact that women have been underestimated for a very long time, despite their value in the system. They are the ones milking, the process, the market, still their presence is not noticed. So I've been able to talk to it, and I want the government to engage them, even in the policy that has to do with livestock management, so that we can have improvement along the value chain.
Different speakers presented papers on various topics with different segments of the conference dealing with different issues concerning the needs, fears, expectations and hopes of both farmers and herders. At the end of deliberations, a communique was issued calling for all hands to be on deck to fashion out a sustainable, equitable, productive and permanent solution to the conflict between farmers and herders in Nigeria.
We needed to come together like this. Let's have various perspectives. The fact that participants at this meeting, both those attending and the resource person, cut across Nigeria is a big plus for this meeting.
There were so many things. And then we are comforted now that at least we're preparing solutions to the challenges of insecurity as it relates to the perceived banditry and farmers-herders conflict.
There's a project that Kano is implementing which brings together both the crop farmers and the herders on the same table, and that project is funded by the Islamic Development Bank, and Sasakawa is actually implementing that crop component of the project. That project provides a lot of solution to what we are discussing today.
Wow, that was a very holistic conference, and it's the first of its kind that is actually bringing the stakeholders together for the first time in Nigeria. And kudos to the Kano State government for sponsoring this conference, and we also are aware of the giant stride they're making in livestock reform in Kano State. We celebrate you, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, for this very great stride in livestock reforms in Nigeria. I'm sure this is going to be one of your enduring legacies. Thank you for watching. Till see you again next time with another interesting sector of Nigeria's economy. My name is Mayowa Oluwebi. God bless Nigeria.